Did you so on the track this week, we had talked about like doing a Thanksgiving theme thing because Thanksgiving was yesterday. Did you get on
Right.
that at all?
Well, I just really struggled trying to get inspired by this year's Thanksgiving. So, no, I didn't. I just
I just
gave up. I
figured
didn't do it.
since we were like home alone, like no family or anything over, we would just I thought we were gonna knock that out yesterday, but
Yeah, I thought about it, and then I just decided, you know what, not for me. So I couldn't get to it.
okay. Well, anyways, this is Dipped in Tone episode
14.
Wow.
It's gonna get really hard to keep track of that eventually.
It's already hard to keep track of for me, I'll admit. I have no idea what episode we're on. Welcome, everyone. Dipped in Tone episode 14. I'm Rhett.
I'm Zach.
That was great timing. Oh, man. Got a couple cool topics lined up for you guys this week. We didn't get a track done.
Slow down. Slow down.
Sorry.
Getting ahead of yourself.
Yeah. Hey, if you haven't done so, you guys should subscribe to the YouTube channel, and wherever you are listening to podcasts, wherever you're listening to this podcast, you should subscribe. And I have a call to action for you guys this week for the first time ever. You should share. You should share these episodes, share this podcast, share the channel with anyone. Maybe you have a wife that doesn't care about guitars or guitar gear at all. Maybe we could be her avenue into the guitar world. Maybe your uncle, who hasn't picked up a guitar since the early 90s, maybe he's into this podcast, you know?
Yeah. Church groups.
Yeah.
Bowling leagues.
Right.
Whoever you converse with on the regular.
Yeah. Maybe you're checking out at like your grocery store and you're talking to the cashier and you're like, hey, you know what you should check out? There's this podcast I watch and listen to. And it's called Dipped in Tone. It's great. You're going to love it. Here it is. And you can hand them, if you have like, well, floppy disks aren't really usable anymore. Maybe like an SD card. Maybe you take, so you take like go to YouTube to MP3 converter. You take this episode, you convert it to an MP3, and you put it on just like a series of SD cards. It is Black Friday, so there's probably SD cards. You could get like a bundle pack on Amazon. Yeah. And then you could just get like 30 of them and just put them at, just hand them out. It's spread the holiday cheer with Dipped in Tone.
Eventually jump drives are going to be like after dinner mints. Like they're just like, even now, like small ones that they don't cost anything.
Right.
So yeah, we should just put a lot of episodes on them. Right. And like drive around and just throw them out of a car or something.
Yeah. Or you could do one of those modern art installations that they have in cities where it's just like a random jump drive stuck into like the mortar of a brick wall, and people walk by and they notice it and they're like, wait, what is that? And then they get curious right on their way to work every day. They're walking by and like, I've got to know what's on that jump drive. And so one day they bring like their computer and they plug into it, and then it's all 14 episodes of Dipped in Tone. That's probably really an efficient way to share our show, I think.
Hey.
So there it is.
I think we got it figured out.
Yeah. Speaking of, you should show your merch ideas, your merch designs that you were working on this week.
Ready. So there you go. I came up with a bunch. Now these are some that I've been working on for a while, but finally got them into Illustrator and prettied them up. If you go to our Patreon, if you are a Patreon member, which, if you're not already, it's only $2 a month. So go support us on Patreon. You can give us your opinions on which designs you like. They're numbered. So you can say, hey, I like number 1 or number 3 or whatever. And soonish, we're going to be making them into shirts. And I think some of them would do well as a sticker and things like that. So
guitar picks, stickers, coffee mugs,
gig bags, straps,
tables,
slip-on shoes,
1/4 inch to MP3 converters would be good. I can't hear you now because I unplugged my
What?
headphones. So hold on. Okay, I'm back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There it is. Merch. It's coming soon. Just in time for the
I have
holiday
a-
season.
we hope. I have so many more ideas too. I came up with some more after I posted those. So yeah, I think hopefully once we get it all figured out, we should be able to get a lot of things rocking and rolling for you guys to buy at very reasonable rates.
Reasonable rates. Sounds like a motel advertisement, like a Motel 6.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a recurring billing for all these shirts. So what'd you get into this holiday week?
Well, made a video. What is the P90 sound? Had a good time making that. That was actually a lot of fun to make. We actually used a lot of the footage that you and I shot at Carter Vintage a few weeks ago. What year was that gold top that we played? Do you remember?
I think it was. Did it have a wrap tail or did it have a Tune-o-matic? I think it was a 56. Oh, it was the wrap tail. Was a 54.
It was stupid good. That day that we played, Gibson set up the whole thing for us at Carter. So, and we were able to shoot a couple videos over there. And so we played, there's a burst, there's that killer gold top. There was a junior, 59 junior. There was a special there as well. There's a bunch of cool stuff. The best guitar that we played all day was that gold top though, I thought.
I think that junior had the most comfortable neck and just like the most raw in your face sound, but could sweeten up. A double cut junior is on my wish list, like a vintage one.
Yeah, like a real one. And that.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Let me cut you off.
Well, I was gonna say I've had a custom shop one that was pretty cool, but the neck on it was like huge. It was completely unwieldy. So I would love to have a vintage one.
Yeah, and the juniors and specials, they're still attainable. So it's like one of the few vintage guitars in the right year that you can actually get that's still like decent real money. You know, like you're not going to spend $30,000 on one. You might spend what, 6 or 7 on one?
Yeah, I mean honestly, you can find some juniors, double cut juniors, not necessarily a single cut, in beat condition, sometimes for 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And you know, they're not too much more than a custom shop of the same guitar. So I feel like if you're on the hunt for one of those, just save and get it. The only bad thing about vintage guitars, and we've never really talked about this, but if you're saving to buy it,
right,
by the time you get the money, it may be more expensive, you know?
Yeah. So I'm just texting with our new editor, a friend of mine. I'm trying to get him to join in the Discord here. Speaking of the Discord, if you want to join in live while we are taping this show to tape, we're actually recording this really to tape right now. You can join our Patreon starting at just $2 a month, link down below. And that money will go directly into paying our new editor to edit the show for us so that Zach can actually have at least some free time during the week. He's not filling up every hour of his day doing something productive.
If I wasn't doing this, I'd still be working. So,
oh man. So how was your week? What'd you get into this week?
I don't even remember. It's been just a flurry of food and soldering. So I told you this, and I feel like we should talk about it. I bought some IRs on sale from Eminence because I love Eminence speakers. I feel like they often get shit on as like the cheap speaker, but they make incredible speakers. Because, you know, I just never hear it part of the conversation. Everyone talks about Celestion or something else that no one really talks about Eminence. And I love them. So I bought the Alessandro that's actually in my deluxe back here and the Josh Smith. And then I think the Red Fang, which is like a British thing.
Right.
They don't sound very good.
Okay, so what do you mean they
it
don't sound good? Describe to me exactly what is wrong with them.
well, I guess it's not that they don't sound good. I think I just need to spend time because it's like I think Michael Britt made them, which is good. He's known for making good shit. But it's like every speaker in a third power cab mic'd with various mics. So there's a bunch of different mics on the speaker. And most of them are just really harsh in the top end. I mean, the Alessandro one sounds really good, but the other two, I was just like, I mean, granted, they're only like $12 a piece, and if you buy 3, you get one. Well, if you buy 2, you get one free right now. So I only spent like 20 something bucks, but I was kind of disappointed. So,
man, so I've made impulse responses. I made a pack. It is a colossal pain in the ass, I must say. Is like, have you ever messed around with the Kemper, like profiling amps on the Kemper?
I've never done it, but I know how it works, you know?
Yeah. So it's even more involved and tedious than that, right? Because you've got to, I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty details of it, but it's very complicated. There's a bunch of gear involved. It's not just like the microphones and everything. You got to have like a solid state power amp and a whole system. And I made my impulse responses, and it took me 3 or 4 tries till I kind of figured out at least the system that I like to get the sound that I was looking for. But the thing about impulse responses are they are totally dependent on how that person likes to hear a mic'd cab in that moment. It's literally just a snapshot of a specific cabinet mic and mic placement and preamp combination in that one moment in time. And so, you know, you kind of have to find who you like. I've never tried any Michael Britt's stuff, but I have a lot of the Celestion IRs. My version of that is like the Celestion. I bought all the Celestion pack, and I don't think they sound good either. Like, they're just too they're too clinical sounding. Like, it's very matter of fact. Like, here is a speaker, here is a greenback. There's no like character or vibe to them at all. So when I did mine, I mic'd up everything how I would mic it up in like a real session and was able to capture it. But somebody who buys mine who's not used to miking mine up that way might not like them. So you just kind of have to find whose stuff you like.
Yeah, yours sound more like a recorded cab in like because I have yours, and I don't have many. I have the ones that came with the power cab, the Allure, whatever from Line 6.
Right.
And then I downloaded some from Tone Junkies, like they had some free ones. So I search free stuff all the time.
Right.
And theirs sound okay, but yours sound the most like, it sounds like a cab in a studio. The Eminence one sounds like a mic. It just sounds like a speaker. I think it would do well like with the power cab or you know, recording with the HX Stomp.
Yeah.
But you'd really have to play with it, you know.
Yeah, you got to tweak away. Tweak away. Well, cool. So yeah, that's what's up this week. We got a couple topics lined up for today. First and foremost, Clapton's Strat, old Slowhand. What do we think about this? Starting bid is $1 million. I suspect it'll go for 2 or a little over 2. Maybe even closer to 3, actually. When you look at like Gilmore's stuff, the Gilmore auction that happened, what was that later last year or whatever? Yeah, I think it's going to go for at least 2 million. But I was looking into it and I was kind of surprised. Like I didn't know much about that Strat. I'm a huge Clapton fan, but first of all, I didn't know it was a hardtail. It's a 54 hardtail. And he didn't actually use it that long. It looks like he only really played it for like 5 years. And it was never really like it wasn't like Blackie or like the SG or like the 335. It seems to be one of the lesser known guitars, even though it's got a name like Slowhand.
Right.
So what do you think about it?
Well, I just didn't know. I was wanting to know, is this coming from Clapton's estate, or was this something that's already been sold?
I'm not sure. Let's look that up.
It's accompanied by Eric Clapton's signed certificate from the Christie's auction. So I think this is like this one's already been sold before. So yeah, it was sold on June 24th, 1999, for his auction to support the Crossroads Center.
Right. Right.
Which I think that's pretty awesome because like both him and David Gilmour, like all his guitar money went to charity.
Yeah, no, it went to climate change research, which was right on.
Amazing. But yeah, I feel like I thought I knew this guitar, but I think I'm thinking of the one he played in Derek and the Dominoes, which was I think it had a tremolo. Brownie? Isn't that what they called that one?
Yeah, he had like 3 Strats. And then when did he start playing the custom? So Clapton is interesting because I love Clapton, and I love especially like my favorite era is like the Beano record and Cream. Those are my 2 favorite like Clapton eras. And then the record he did with JJ Cale, like 2004, 2005, Road to Escondido. That record's really cool. But man, this Clapton signature Fender, the Strat, like the Clapton Strat, to me is as much as I love Clapton, it's to me the least interesting Strat that they make. That's probably would be in the lineup of Fender Strats that you could buy, everything from custom shop all the way down to Squire. The Clapton Strat is pretty low on the list for me.
Well, I could see why you'd have a low interest in it, but I do feel like I think it's one of the most unique because it has the TBX tone control and the boost circuit, which is like what other Strat has anything comparable to that. So one thing that I thought was confusing is we were talking about this Slowhand Strat, and so I went and got Slowhand.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, is that the guitar from that record? No, it's Blackie. And I was like, why is this called the Slowhand Strat? Just because.
Yeah, so this Strat,
Eric's called Slowhand, I guess.
Being a hardtail, it's a 54 hardtail Sunburst, beautiful Strat. But apparently this was his slide guitar from like for 5 years, I believe it was. And on the tour that he was running at that time, apparently he only used it on 2 songs at that time. It's an open G slide guitar. And I just don't, it's like, so this kind of brings up a bigger conversation about artist-owned guitars and the ridiculous money that they bring. Now, here's the thing to realize about this podcast. If you are coming into this and you're new here, Zach and I are total hypocrites, and we talk out of both sides of our mouth all the time. Case in point, okay? Remember a couple episodes ago when I was talking about Gibson doing like the artist stuff like the pearly gates and the monkey SG and all that stuff, and I was like, I don't like that stuff, I would never buy one, I'm just not into that. Well, okay, then last week what did they come out with? The Hendrix SG custom and the Hendrix Flying V, and immediately I jumped online to try and find one and find out how much they were. So that completely negates everything I said a couple of weeks ago. I am a sucker. It just, the thing I learned is it's just about the right artist.
Right.
But that being said, where are we at on these artist-owned like actual guitars going for millions of dollars?
I mean, I think it's pretty reasonable. I do think that a guitar like this that is not as known, this was just a guitar he owned. And granted, he used it. And that says something. Looks like he played it 79 to 80 on the 79 tour. And some studio work through 85. It's just like, it's not as notable as the other guitars, the guitars that you've seen him on stage that are so Clapton. Yeah. Because love him or hate him, he influenced an entire generation of guitar players. So I understand the appeal. But yeah, if it didn't have his name on it, this would be a 54 Strat. Hardtail's pretty rare. I mean, what, 50 to 50 grand, maybe more. I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, hardtail 54, and it looks in good shape. It's a total collector piece. Aside from
with
who
the case.
owned it. Yeah, who owned it and played it. So whatever market is on that right now, I mean, but the question I have, and we've talked about this before a little bit in regards to like the Songbirds Museum and the artist owned guitars. It's like, at what point does it cross the line from guitar to artist owned guitar to now a piece of history? For the record, I don't think this guitar crossed that line. I don't think this guitar qualifies as like a piece of musical history. Not like
No.
the Woman SG or the 335 maybe, or like Gilmore's Strat. But there is a line, and it's kind of a broader question against even like the art world and the art collecting world overall. I mean, I think over the next 100 years, we're going to start to see some of these instruments, some of these guitars start to fetch prices of like, I don't know, like a Picasso or I don't know much about art, so I'm going to stop talking before I say something stupid.
Picasso, Dali,
Picasso,
Da Vinci, Michelangelo,
Picasso,
Leonardo, Raphael,
Picasso,
Donatello.
Who did the Mona Lisa? Da Vinci, right? That was Da Vinci.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
like, don't ask me questions.
So yeah, I do think we're going to start to see that. And from this perspective, if you're a collector, it's like, well, and if you got the money, yeah, you could drop $2 million on this now, sit on it for. But again, I don't think this guitar is ever going to get there, though. I don't think this guitar is ever going to be that like big money, iconic, like live in the Smithsonian kind of thing. But
right. Well, like going back to that Hendrix thing, did you watch the video that Gibson put out for that? I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
And it was awful. It was like the worst Ken Burns ripoff like style. It was so stupid. But like the thing about that is like, how many times did Jimmy play those guitars? Like, I don't like when I think Jimi Hendrix, like I know there's pictures and videos of him using both those guitars, but I do not think or hear in my head Gibson at all.
Right.
So I don't know. To me, like, I get it because they're really cool looking. Like, I mean, the custom SG is like, whatever. I've seen custom SGs. The Flying V is cool because that's totally like, that's only Jimmy with those split diamond inlays and all that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Like,
well, I think, on that regard, I actually think the Gibson thing, like I would rather have a Hendrix custom, like a Hendrix Gibson than a Hendrix Strat, because everyone has done a Hendrix Strat. How many flipped headstock white Strats have you seen out there, right? Like how many Monterey Strat copies have you seen? Like everyone out there has done it. It's been out, So to me, I like the fact that he's not widely known for playing Gibsons. And it's because right around the time he started playing Gibson, he died not long after that, right? Like I think he got the Flying V in like early 1970 or 69 or something like that, and then died in 1970. So he played it for less than a year. So we think of him as being a Fender guy and a Strat guy because that's what he played. But he didn't live long enough to really play. I mean, he was only really around. It was 4 years, right? 4 or 5 years as Hendrix as we know him. Like that was not very long. So to me, the SG, I like the SG more than the V. I mean, it is just an SG custom pretty much. But I don't know. I just, there comes a time when some of these instruments, I would put like Gilmore's Strat up there that he auctioned off, which I think went for $3 million. Chat, look it up. How much did Gilmore's Strat sell for? I think the Woodstock Strat from Hendrix, like things like that are now kind of encroaching into that. Okay, these are a part of cultural history, and these are no longer like collectible items. These are parts of.
Right. 3.9 million. Almost 4 million. Woo!
Wow.
How do?
I thought the Gibson video was kind of cool. I know you hated it.
The narration and stuff, it just seemed like a bad Ken Burns
it
video
was
or something.
it was very like 2006 movie trailer ish. I will say that.
Right.
That was the vibe I got. But
they are
was
cool
excited.
looking guitars. I dig the cases looked cool. Like everything about it was cool. You know, like that's a win. Did you see that Reverb or Gibson is putting like prototypes and a bunch of random stuff on Reverb?
Yes.
I wonder what that's about. I couldn't find a link to it.
I think that's probably their ER inventory. So Gibson, they have what's called their ER inventory, which is like basically guitars like, okay, so the Firebird that I have, the pink Firebird, that's under their ER inventory, which is like what they loan to artists. It would be like, okay, you can take this out on tour, or hey, you can keep this. And I was just looking at that Reverb shop, and a lot of it is like, oh, this is artist played or demoed or whatever. And I think they're just trying to move through a lot of that inventory to get some of the new stuff in. But it looked like there was some good deals to be had on there. I mean, there was like a gold top.
I don't know.
It looked like a Gibson USA, but a gold top for like $1,700.
Yeah, I see a classic.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's pretty. Man,
it's fine.
I don't know.
Fine.
I'm distracted. I'm looking at guitars. It's like I don't even want a Gibson guitar. I'll never buy another new Gibson guitar ever.
Because you're a man of principle.
But I still get
Zachary.
sucked in. I am. Like, we've talked about all the ugly guitars I want to buy instead of the Gibson.
Yeah.
Go back and listen. It was like episode 3 or something.
Yeah. I still can't get on the Frank Brothers train. Sorry. Can't.
You're missing out. I'm gonna buy one and you're gonna be like,
fine.
Oh, it's cool, and then you're gonna get one.
No, probably not.
Wow.
So, anyways, let us know in the comments. I want to see what people's guesses are. I think that Strat's gonna go for 2, right around 2.1. I'm gonna put my bet. Price is right. $2 million and $1.
I think it'll go for 3.
I don't think it'll go that high because it's not as well known. You think about Gilmore Strat 3.9, and you think this Strat is almost as famous and desirable as the Gilmore Strat.
I think people are as willing to spend. I think whoever, like Jim Irsay bought the Gilmore Strat. He's like, beyond wealth for the most part. I think some other lunatic is going to spend insane money. So closest without going over, we'll see. And whoever wins gets to spin the big wheel.
Oh, you're winning it. You're winning a trip to Cabo and 2 jet skis.
Oh, man.
And a Honda Fit.
and a washing machine and an air fryer.
And a dining room set.
Yeah.
Oh my God, man. What a jollyment The Price is Right was.
I would love to be on The Price is Right. I mean, there of all the game shows, Family Feud and The Price is Right.
I never got into Family Feud, but what if we had a guitar based, like if Reverb put on The Price is Right, dude, we should. I don't know anybody at Reverb. I was gonna say we should pitch them.
I do.
Do you really?
I know some of that. Yeah, I can send some emails.
We should. No, here's what we should do. Okay, this is a genuinely. I'm serious about this idea. Let's you and I get with Josh Scott and develop this like as an online web series. Price is Right. We'll have Reverb sponsor it. They'll do all the gear and everything. And we'll be. Oh man, yeah. We'll do a Price is Right game show for guitar players.
I've already come up with a few names, and after this, I'm going to buy them on GoDaddy because I guarantee there's a Black Friday sale going on. So I want to buy the domain names so we can.
Have you bought anything today?
No. We looked at stoves again.
Oh yeah.
But that's I did get on reverb and like just scrolled through on there. But no, I haven't. There's nothing I want. I don't like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I want my Solus. That's what I want.
Right.
That's all I want.
I put like 6 things in my Amazon cart this morning while I woke up, and then I went back and was like, I don't need any of this stuff. I don't need this shit. And so I just closed Amazon.
Yeah. I do that all the time.
Yeah. So, all right. Next segment, and this is one that I've been thinking about for a while. You and I have kind of kicked around here. Pedals. I think we're seeing a transition in the pedal world right now that will be talked about in years to come. First of all, you look at like, I think, what was it? What would you say? 15 years ago, right? The pedal world started to kind of really take off, like the boutique world and things like that. Mid 2000s, would you say?
Yeah, I think around 2010 to 12, I feel like that's probably when it kind of really like the boutique world started.
Yeah, that's when I got
hard.
into pedals, right? And I remember at that time, like 2010, I was at AIM and didn't know anything. I owned no pedals, and I started going down to Atlanta Discount Music, and the guys down there were kind of helping me out and just kind of teaching me the ways. They were it was my pedal sensei, if you will, Jimmy, down there at Atlanta Discount. So I remember that time. I remember JHS. I remember when they got JHS in, it was like a big deal. It was like, oh my God, JHS, this boutique brand. They had all the stuff and the stamps and everything. And I remember like buying an exotic preamp and then buying a box of rock and then, buying all these pedals. And now I think we're seeing the next iteration in the pedal world, which is over the last 10, 12 years, however long it's been, we've kind of explored all of the space in terms of how many different ways can you do a tube screamer? How many different ways can you do a Univibe or a Phase 90 or a Fuzz Face or whatever? Everyone out there does a clone, yourself included.
Yeah.
Right? But now what we're starting to see...
Wait, I do? Oh, yeah. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, the Majolnar. Majorn, yeah. It's a Swedish thing. So now we're starting to see these pedal companies, both new companies that are popping up and established companies that are starting to experiment. And we're sort of starting to cross into pedals that are completely unique designs, completely new ideas, and they're starting to blur the line between effect and standalone instrument.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Because the one you were jonesing for, why don't you tell the people about it? Because I don't understand it.
All right. So I think I just knocked something over. So, all right. I feel like everyone out there probably has this thing, right? Where they have like one or two brands that they're just really into, right? Maybe it's you like the stuff that they make and you like their sort of ethos and their ideas and everything like that, right? What do you have that, Zach? What would you say is like a brand that just across the board you're really into?
I love Ibanez pedal. It's just like the vibe, like it's so like Ibanez and Maxon stuff. It's just like it feels like even now it's like 70s, 80s Japanese, and they sound great. They're like you can't kill them. I don't know. I love that. I don't know why. It's so basic. Well, you could, but
so mine is Hologram Electronics.
Yeah. They're out of Knoxville.
Yeah, they're really cool,
which is crazy.
I have the Infinite Jets. Shout out to Subi. Subi is a subscriber and a friend, and he's now one of the moderators on my channel. He sent this to me to borrow last year because I had never really played one, never really tried one out, and he sent it to me, and then he was just like, "Yeah, just keep it." So, I've had a ton of fun using this thing. If you've never played an Infinite Jets, they call it a resynthesizer. I've used it a ton, and I'll be completely honest, I don't really know how it works or how to really use it. And to me, that's kind of the sort of appeal of it. I know for a lot of people, like you probably would hate that. But so they put up this.
I wouldn't hate it. I just wouldn't be able to. I just don't care enough to like learn how to use it.
Yeah. I think the point, at least my approach to it, is to not really learn how to use it, to just plug it in and twist knobs until you get something cool out of it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So they came out with a new pedal called the Microcosm, and I've been looking at it online. And one of my favorite things to do is watch channels who are not guitar channels on YouTube demo stuff. So I watch a lot of like synth channels and like guys that use, you know, Moogs and Modular Synth and things like that. And that's a big crossover that's happening right now. Like pedals like this are crossing over between the guitar world and the synth world super hard right now. And so when I watch those guys demo these kind of things, it's really, really cool and fascinating to me. So I think I'm going to buy one. I was hoping there'd be some kind of Black Friday thing, but it doesn't look like there is on them. They're expensive. It's like $450.
Yeah. $450.
Yeah, it's pricey, but it's really cool. It's, to be honest, I'm not even totally sure what it is or what it does.
It says it's number 5 in loop pedals and samplers on Reverb, so I assume it's some sort of looper thing.
Yeah, and it's got reverbs and samplers and I don't know. It's just an interesting take. So the reason I like this stuff is because whenever I plug into a fuzz, an overdrive, a delay, and a reverb, like let's say I have those 4 pedals on my board, I'm instantly going to go to one of like 4 different sounds. I'm going to go for a fuzz sound. I'm going to go for an edge of breakup sound. I'm going to go for a slapback delay, and then a big washy delay and reverb sound. And no matter what pedals they are, no matter how many of them on my board there are, how I'm running them, I'm going to end up going to those 4 sounds. When I pick up something like that, it's completely different than anything else I would normally go for. And I really like that.
Right. Well, like, I think the counter argument to this being like a pedal, if you're using it mainly as a creative tool just with your guitar, is there anything like that in the digital space where you like could just get a plugin or some sort of app or something, you know, that's not, I mean, that I know, I'm sure this thing, there's something very important about having a tactile object with knobs to turn and how you know, can interact with it and play with it. That is part of the experience. But at the same time, if you're just trying to be creative, you know, is there something out there that does that? I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Oh, dude, there's so many different ways to skin this cat, right? Like you could totally just plug straight into an interface and use a bunch of different plugins. You could go to one of those modular synth plugins online and plug a guitar into. I mean, there's so many different ways. I, though, like you were saying, am a very tactile person. I like having a physical object in front of me with knobs and switches and buttons that I can manipulate in real time.
Right.
I don't work. I hate interacting with sounds using a mouse and keyboard. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like mixing with plugins. I don't like, even if it's just a control surface. Like if you have just a digital control surface that's working, you know, this is what I wish Luna would get working, is the ability to use a control surface, because when you have that tactile, it's a completely different interaction that you're having when you can actually touch knobs and faders and stuff.
Right. Have you seen the Empress Effects Zoya?
I have, and I've kicked around the idea of getting one of those, but
because it's like a modular synth in a pedal, essentially.
Right. And so that there's this other side of it too, where we're kind of like the pedal manufacturers are starting to sort of explore the space, so to speak. And I think some people, like I look at the Zoya and I just think, all right, that's way too complicated. Like there's a fine line between an inspirational thing, something that you can just like pick up and get some sounds going quickly, and then something where you have to go through a bunch of steps in order to make stuff work. And to me, the Zoya just looks really intimidating.
Well, see, I said the same thing. And the guys that shout out to East Side Music in East Nashville.
Those guys are great.
Amithos. Mythos Dealer and some best dudes. There a lot of those guys like run studios and do all this stuff in their part time too, and they're really into synths. And they were telling me about the Zoya, and they love it. And I was like, this looks like just a complete mind fuck for me. And they're like, no, it's easy. You just do this. And I was like, oh, okay. So they said it's not bad once you learn how to do it, but
Yeah.
it's just like you said, it takes a lot of energy, I think, to learn how to use these things correctly, because like we've all been there with some piece of technology we bought, like either it's an instrument or just something as simple as like a camera.
Yeah.
Like, learning how to use something properly to its full potential is not always easy. And that just, when you look at it, because if you've not seen a Zoya, it looks like a black box with it's just got a bunch of buttons on it in a screen.
Yeah.
And it just looks like one of those like an Ableton Live controller or something.
Yeah, it does. Like a mini, like, yeah. Right.
Like a launch pad or whatever.
Right.
So I don't know. To me, the whole pedal as an instrument thing is something that I have no interest in, because I relate it back to when I tried to learn how to play drums. I bought a decent kit. It was like an older Ludwig kit, and it was nice. It was like like real wood shells, and this was a good drum kit. But I was spending a lot of time practicing drums.
Right.
And when I would finish practicing, I was like, oh, that was great. I really should be practicing my guitar, because there's so much more that I want to reach.
Right.
But I'm very much like a single lane kind of guy. Like guitar for me is just something that I have goals set for myself that I want to achieve at some point. And anytime I diverge from that, I feel like I'm doing my guitar interest a disservice.
Yeah.
So like these pedals, while interesting, like, and that is not to say that being creative with something is not incredibly valuable. It is, but every time I've played with something that is fun and creative, I find as much joy when I learn like a new technique or like a new chord shape that flows along the whole pedal board or a whole fingerboard or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think you and I have different approaches to the guitar and different viewpoints of the guitar. So I look at it like, I think my main interest in guitar and in music is I'm really interested in sort of the aspect of like creative expression through sound. That makes sense, right? And like the manipulation of emotion through sound. And under that sort of umbrella, my chosen lane, my chosen sort of outlet in that arena is the guitar and everything associated with the guitar, because there's something about the guitar's sound and the guitar's voice that spoke to me when I was a kid, and it still speaks to me today. I get really excited when I hear great guitar sounds and great guitar playing. I get just as excited about listening to Young the Giant and their guitar sounds as I do listening to Derek Trucks or Robin Ford or Mike Campbell, or I mean any list of amazing guitar virtuosos and players and writers and producers. So for me, it's less about like learning, how to, get better at the guitar, setting goals for myself as a guitar player. It's more about like, okay, cool. What's a different sound I can get? And one of my favorite things to do is just like go in here and I'll pick 4 completely just random pedals and I'll patch them together sometimes, and I will see just what kind of crazy, weird, shitty sounds I could make out of it. Plugging a fuzz into a crazy reverb and then putting like some kind of, modulation after the reverb and just seeing what happens kind of thing. So from my perspective, pedals like this, the pedals as instruments, are a really cool way to achieve different sounds that I wouldn't think of coming up with on my own. So you look at something like that Microcosm, for example. It's like a sampler, reverb, all kinds of stuff. Or the Zoya, for example. Essentially what you're doing is or Chase Bliss is a great example of this, right? The mood pedal. I have a mood. I'm not totally sure how it works or what to do with it. I know a lot of people know that pedal inside and out, but for me, it's one of those things that every time I just plug into it, I just twist knobs until I get something that sounds cool out of it. But what's happening is I'm using Joel's and what was it? Old Blood Noise and somebody else that collaborated on the Mood.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm using their thought processes and their ideas to kind of augment my own creativity and my playing. It's just a tool to get a completely different sound than I would normally get. Now, am I ever going to use that sound on like a live set with the band? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But it's just it's a different tool for expression as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Have you ever messed with, and this is a podcast in and of itself, circuit bent effects?
No, but I'm really interested in it. Man, I'm this close. I'm right on the edge of diving headfirst into the modular world, the modular synth world.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You have to wait till you get your house and then you can have like your
yeah, just a giant
instead of having like a train miniature train track thing where you like stand in the middle, you have a modular rack. I was gonna ask you, like, when you're finding inspiration for being creative, like for me, I get inspired so much more often by music that doesn't have guitar really featured in it. Cause I listen to a lot of like, which is ironic, stuff without guitars, like chiptune stuff, like, you know, video game synth kind of things. I listen to a lot of chill hop when I'm working. Like that sort of vibe is very relaxing when you're just trying to like do a boring task over and over. And sometimes in those styles of music, you'll hear melodies or lines that just make you go, oh, how did they do that? And figuring out something that was done on a keyboard and transcribing it to a guitar is not easy, but it opens up so many new pathways for inspiration. By not just listening, because everyone always asks me, like, what guitar thing are you listening to right now? It's like, most of the time I'm not, because that exhausts me.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really ever listen to guitar music, to be honest. You know? The most guitar-y thing I will listen to is like Tedeschi Trucks Band, or like Robin Ford or something like that. But that's only when I'm like trying to work on something. When I'm in a space where I want to work on my guitar playing and listen to stuff. You know, with the exception of like, you know, I'll listen to ZZ Top and a lot of that kind of stuff because I like it. But I'm more interested in songs. And it really doesn't matter what genre it is. If it's a good song, I like that. Yeah. You know, and that means everything from like Nas to Coldplay to Young the Giant to Maylene and the Sons of Disaster to, I mean, all kinds of different shit. So to me, that's what matters. And I do end up listening. Most of the stuff I listen to does have some kind of guitar in it, even if it's not like the featured thing. I love music where the guitar is not the thing. It's a part of a bigger thing.
Yeah. When it comes to the people who ignite the guitar community as far as their playing, if they can't sing or their songs aren't good, like I can't really vibe with it. I mean, David Grissom, amazing guitar player, not the best singer in the world.
Right.
You know, I love his instrumental pieces. You know, they're incredible, really well thought out, well-crafted melodies and songs. But, you know, there's a lot of people that are like that. Like, that's why I feel so lucky to like know Joey like I do.
Yeah.
Because not only does he inspire me to play guitar, but just his voice and his songs are great. And so like that total package is the thing that I enjoy more. And a lot of songs that like Joey has or that I like the most aren't like guitar centric, or there's no solo necessarily, you know?
Yeah. I completely agree. Joey Landreth is a legend. I mean, to be as good of a guitar player as he is, as good of a songwriter and as good of a singer as he is, it's completely unfair.
And it's so funny because every person because I've seen Joey play. Anytime I've been around him, there's only been one time where I didn't get to go watch him play. And that was because I won tickets to go see Jeff Beck, which I was like, all right.
Yeah, come on. Pay your dues.
Joey was like, don't bother with us. Like, go see Jeff Beck. Get out of here. But anytime there were other musicians there, and I'm talking like Josh Smith, like big talent powerhouses, they were like, God, he just pisses me off.
Dude. Yeah, I completely agree. He and I were texting yesterday. We're going to try and do something with the band, which we have a name.
Oh.
Did I mention that?
You sent me an image, but then I forgot to text you back because I was.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we have
a human
settled.
being.
We have settled on the name for the band. So we're kicking around doing something with Joey and with the band, or with me and Joey. I want to do a video with him, but I'm not sure what to do yet. So,
how to get good with Joey Leonard.
How to get real good.
GUD. Get good.
Oh, so pedals as instruments. I'm for it. I'm here for it. I want to see how this expands over the next 5 years. I want to see what kind of crazy ideas people can come up with, what companies are birthed out of this, what kind of collaborations start to happen out of this. I am here for it, man.
Yeah, it's a path of coming from a design standpoint that you have to be dedicated to, because this is more than just like throwing resistors on a circuit board and seeing how much distortion happens. This is programming. This is legitimate technical knowledge that takes a skill set that I don't have, and I don't have time to go to school to learn that stuff. So you won't see any of that from me.
It also takes an insane imagination to come up with this stuff. Like, what if we combined this and then passed it through this and then went through this and we put it all on a pedal and then here you go. Like it does a thing. And I think as guitar players, I think a lot of us need to be a little bit more open-minded when stuff like this comes out. I think we need to be more willing to at least try something, with some exceptions, I guess, but I think, if Hendrix or any of our heroes of days gone by had access to the stuff we have access to now, I'm completely convinced that they would be using and experimenting with a lot of this shit to see what they could come up with. So try 100%. It out, man. Don't be old curmudgeonly set in your ways. Like, I don't use all that shit.
Like
computers,
like me.
It's digital. It's got DSP in it. I don't use anything. It's got a chip in it. I see that. So I've seen that on my comments.
Yeah. Well, I think, man, I see that too. And I will say that there are some things, because if your only interaction with digital signal processing is from like the DL4 era and before, it's come a long way. And like, not to disparage the DL4, but it does change your sound. When you have that on your board, it changes your sound. I used to have 2 of them. It was like ridiculous. It's like you have to come around. So.
Yeah, but here's the thing, dude. So last week I was on the live show. I was playing my multi-echo, right? The completely analog tape echo with a spring tank in it. There's not a single piece of electronic wizardry in that thing. And you know what? It changes your sound. It completely changes your tone when you put it in front of the amplifier. It changes your sound. But you know what? You deal with it. That's now the sound. If you want to use that thing, that's now the sound, right? Like the sound of the tape echo in line in front of my amplifier it's not transparent. It's not true bypass or whatever all these other buzzwords are. Yeah, it completely changed my tone. Completely altered the voice of the amplifier. But I dug it, and it changed the way I played. And having that thing, I think we get so caught up in like this idea that, oh my gosh, my tone, the tiny little electrical signal coming out of my guitar needs to stay completely intact and pristine all the way to the front of the amplifier. It's like, or not, just fucking just play. And if it sounds good, the sound that is coming out of your speakers is good and you like it, then it is good. It doesn't matter if you have input buffers and output buffers and are what kind of cable are you using, and is it an isolated power supply, and it's like, just if it sounds good, it is good. Just play your fucking guitar. How about that?
I think that maybe next week or week after that or sometime we should do a podcast that are rig pet peeves.
Oh yeah,
because
I like that.
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
Do you want to move on to?
Yeah, one more fine.
Go ahead.
Just to put one finer point on it. This entire last 2 weeks, I've pretty much been playing. I've been playing every day, and every time I've sat down to play, I've been playing with the Axe FX 3. And I did that because I haven't really given that thing a fair shake. I haven't given it like the time to really dive into it and figure it out. And so a couple weeks ago, I decided I'm really going to start doing it. It sounds good. It sounds good. The Axe FX 3 is, in my opinion, you can get it to sound just as good as any real guitar amp, any, real signal chain, whatever. It sounds good. It may not be your cup of tea. You may not be into the way it works, the user interface, the tweakability, all that kind of stuff. Totally understand. But I'm tired of seeing people completely discount something. Oh, because it's digital, or, oh, I only play analog stuff. If it sounds good, it is good, and it doesn't matter how you got there. How about that?
Yep. Sure.
So
there's a sticker. If it sounds good, it is good.
There you go. Write it down.
Seriously,
Print.
That should be a good one. Okay.
All right.
You want to move on to our gear of the week, our shill of the week?
Shill of the week. Let's get to shilling. You want to go first?
Sure. So I got something. I got it out of my garage because this is where it lives. But I think if you're a guitar player, electric guitar player, and you don't have one of these or something like this, you are doing yourself a disservice. So this is my toolkit.
Ooh.
And this is from Mojotone, and they still sell these. It's the Rene Martinez toolkit. And I don't know how well I'm going to be able to showcase this on the screen here. But in here, I keep another couple tools, but this is, I fear all this is falling out.
There goes.
So what this is, I'll just pull some stuff out. It's a screwdriver that has every attachment. So you have your basic socket drivers for tightening, like a switch or a output jack or a pot. But it also has all the small flat Phillips head and Allen keys that you would need for like adjusting a nut or a saddle. It's not going to focus, so small. But get one of these. They're like $10 from Mojotone. And in addition to that, get a setup ruler. This is another one from Mojotone. It's Rene Martinez. Rene Martinez was Stevie Ray Vaughan's guitar tech. He's now John Mayer's guitar tech. And just keep all your tools in one little container. If you ever have to gig, put it in your gig bag. And you're going to be so glad you did. I keep my Gibson setup tool in here, my truss rod adjustment tool in this case. And, all in, the tools in this were like $16 with the ruler and the toolkit. The Gibson ones usually come with your guitar.
Yep.
This has saved me the trouble of paying a tech just for little tiny things.
Yep.
Get one. Rene Martinez tool set.
Yep. Put it in your gig bag whenever you get back to gigging. That's a great gift idea. If you've got some like a guitar player in your life or whatever, they're cheap, $16, $15. Just having it in that case alone, I think, is worth the money, right? Because you could accumulate those tools and stuff on your own, but just having it in that one like little succinct place, you throw it in your gig bag, you throw it in your amp case, whatever. 100%.
I have so many Allen keys just like by themselves.
Yep.
God knows what sizes they are. Like,
yep.
They're just in my literal tool chest. It's a mess, but having them all there and just put them back up when you're done.
We'll link that. We'll link that down below.
Yeah.
Time for my shill of the week. So we both agreed we weren't going to do pedals. This is technically not a pedal, although it looks like a pedal. So everyone relax. All right. Make sure I get this in frame here. So the Iron Man 2 Mini from Tone King. This is an attenuator for your amplifier. I bought this about a year and a half ago. This is the best attenuator, I think, on the market today. So if you're like me and you like to use amps live, you like to use loud amps live, i.e. my divided by 13 and other stuff, more than likely, you're going to be in a situation where you're told to turn down. And when you do, with a tube amp, if you're unfamiliar, it can completely change the feel and the response and the sound of the amplifier. So attenuators have been around for years. They're nothing new. But this is a reactive load attenuator, which means it's acting more like an actual speaker. The resistance is variable. It's acting more like an actual speaker versus something like a hot plate, like a THD hot plate, for example. Or what are some of the other popular attenuators people have been using for years?
Like a Dr. Z air brake or
yeah, air brakes are actually pretty good.
I don't know. Yeah.
So there's two versions of this. This is the mini, which means I think this one only goes up to 50 watts. The big boy goes up to like 100 watts or 150 watts, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's really, really usable. It sounds great, and it's got a cool feature on it. So if you see the big knob here in the middle, you've got like 3 different settings. So you've got the interior ring, the middle ring, and the outer ring. So depending on how you have, here we go, how you have this switch, you have a high and a low setting. So right now, if I were to switch this to low, it's now on the interior ring, which is right now minus 10 dB. And then I could go flip it up to high, that's minus 7 dB. And then you have a solo boost here. So you could put this on your pedal board next to you on stage, or what I usually do is I put it on top of my amp. And so you have a solo boost, which will allow it to, in this setting, go from minus 10 dB or minus 7 dB to minus 4 dB, which is a considerable change in output volume. So the way I like to use it is I run it at this setting. I usually run it at minus 7 dB because I find, especially on my FTR, that that's a good setting for live. And there's been a couple of times during sets. I took this on the Black Keys tour last year. And I found that like there was a couple of times during the set I would want to take a solo, and maybe the front of house guy didn't know that I was going to take a solo and to push me forward. And in a big room like that, you can kind of get buried. So I would just walk back to my amp, hit that button, and have the amp essentially kick out. Like in this setting, you can basically turn it off. If you hit that solo boost, it goes to 0 dB gain reduction, and it's just basically off. The other cool thing about it is it has a DI line out on the back. So you can take your basically unaffected amp's signal and you can send it to a cab sim, for example. You can send it to, straight to a DAW and record it. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. So
yeah,
best attenuator on the market, I think.
Those are great. My only complaint about the Iron Man attenuators is they're ohm specific.
They are ohm specific, which is so I got the 8 ohm one because I feel like that's probably the most widely usable. Yeah, or the 16 maybe, but
yeah. I think the best feature on it, apart from the solo boost, which is really cool, but for your average person, they probably won't use that. But the presence switch, because if you've never used an attenuator, how it changes the high end response of your amp, it can be kind of drastic. Like I feel like the attenuator in the aux kind of sucks all your life out of your sound. You have to make up for it back on the amp.
Yeah.
Not necessarily going straight into a DAW from the cab simulation, just the attenuator itself going back into your cabinet. But yeah, the Iron Mans are great. We had them at Carter. I remember once I didn't realize they were wattage specific because I had always used, I had the big Trainwreck air brake. I had the brake light as well, but I had the air brake, and that thing can handle like 100 plus watts. And I plugged a 100 watt Marshall into the 50 watt air brake.
Oh,
you could have cooked an egg on it.
Yeah,
it got real hot.
Yeah.
So
yeah, this
one thing too.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the power adapter on that only works LED, right?
Yeah, and it has a 9 volt too, and it's only for the LED.
Okay.
Yeah. So I never powered it or anything just because it was not a thing. But what I would do is taking it out with like Noah, where we would run in-ears, is I would basically run the Iron Man 2 into, at the time I was using a Cab Zeus, the stereo Cab Zeus, and then I would basically run the Cab Zeus to our in-ear rig, basically making my own sort of aux in a way.
Right.
So yeah, super useful. They're built like a tank. Yeah, I just think they're really, really cool to have around because you can, everyone, if you're playing big amps, and by big amps, I mean really anything over 20 watts, 25 watts, you need something to attenuate the volume if you like to push it live, because then you can keep the amp in its sweet spot where it likes to live at a reasonable stage volume.
Sure. Yeah. And the difference between like 150 watts is only like 3 decibels. So knocking stuff down a little bit, it can be a dramatic like change in perceived volume. And that's how I used to, because I use the big air brake on my Z-Rec and would just knock it down like a couple clicks. And that was enough to make it tolerable.
Right. So there you go, everyone. That's Shill of the Week. We'll have both those things linked down in the description box. I don't think they're affiliate links because we haven't set up any kind of affiliate program, but maybe we should do that. Yeah. I think that does it for episode whatever this is. 14?
14.
Yeah, nice. If you haven't done...
I should just have like Post-it notes everywhere reminding me of everything going on.
Right. Yeah, like we said, subscribe. I think we're over, 2,000 something now on YouTube?
Yeah, I think we're getting close to 3.
Wow.
So hop on the bandwagon. It's
Come on.
You don't want the train to leave without you.
Yeah, if you don't subscribe, you'll never see us again. And if you want to join the Patreon, $2 a month, you can join in with all these fine people here in the chat while we are recording live, which is fun. Anything else to plug before we leave?
I don't think so. Everyone buy something cool if there's still a sale going on this week, because there probably will be. Yeah,
there probably will be. Black Friday will last all the way to Christmas this year, probably. So there you go.
Oh, be sure to leave a comment back to what we said in the very beginning about what merch designs you like, and we will make sure to make those happen. So
nice. All right, everyone. Well, we will see y'all next week.
Bye.